Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 167 of a year of change. Today we're going to forego what we were going to do yesterday. I was going to say I was just going to do stories today, but we are going to do a documentary. Throughout the past few weeks when we've been adding new ones in there, aside from the one that we skipped, they have really sort of been very deep, heavy subjects. And I wanted originally to do something a little lighter, not necessarily weird, like the very first one we did, the man versus food, but something that was a little different and sort of outside of the, we're also fat and gross documentary thing. So I originally had started looking at different street foods, which we will do at some point. But while I was looking for this, I actually stumbled across this little mini-series of stuff. I don't know if you can hear that. That's the sound of a cat horking up something. So enjoy that while you're doing whatever. Whoa. I don't know if you can hear that. Anyway, this is actually a 3-part miniseries that was done on BBC. I know I do get a lot of my documentaries from the BBC, but I find that a lot of the American ones that are produced, and Canadian ones, I suppose, as well. The Canadian ones are more of the news things that I do. But I find that a lot of the North American, I'll say, documentaries tend to be a little sensationalist. There's, with a lot of the stuff that we see, we can get a lot of information and we can get a lot of facts from stuff. But I find that when it comes to North America, we tend to throw in a lot of extra drama for no reason. With a lot of these, and you'll get, the fading to black and the dark dun 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 music and everything else. And it's just unnecessary. So, just for those of you that are wondering why I have so many English documentaries, that's the main reason why. Anyway, with this was a 3-part series. I haven't finished watching the 3rd part yet, but it basically just sort of follows, it's called The Future of Food, and it follows a number of different things. It's not really just sort of one topic. So it just sort of jumps all over the place. But the main reason why I just sort of wanted to show this was that while you're watching it, because it goes to so many different places, it does bring up a lot of different topics. And my cat is still just going, wah, wah. And okay, I think we're good. I just realized I'm going to have to clean that up afterwards too. Blech. Anyway, one of the main things that we've always sort of addressed with this right from day one was that we are the way we are because of ourselves. There isn't really anything that we can point to and say, well, it's your fault that I'm fat. It's our own fault. But that's not to say that there aren't things that have contributed to it along the way. But the problem is that we seem to have a real difficult time differentiating between, a contributing factor to obesity and laying blame on someone for our obesity. During the first part of the first... Well, there's 3 parts to it. So during the first part of the first part, they do sort of go through a lot of the fast food places, unhealthy products that you can buy in a store. Just basically, we did this a while ago that, generally speaking, the cheap food is the unhealthy food. Fast food places, it's really cheap to get what you want. Processed foods are getting cheaper and cheaper. They're designed just so that we can buy more. It doesn't really sort of vilify these things, but it does bring up an important point. And it's not that they're pointing at it and saying, the reason why we're fat is because of McDonald's, or the reason why we're fat is because they make cheap, economy hamburgers. So it's, of course, you have $10 and you're going to go and you're going to buy junk food with it. But they do address the fact that part of the reason why we are fat is because if you have $20 to spend for your groceries, if you can get, a grocery cart full of unhealthy foods, really high fat, I can't talk at all, high fat, high calorie foods, lots of sugar and salt and all the other stuff that's really bad for us. Or you can get $20, which is going to be a little tiny basket of, fresh foods. Then, of course, monetarily, financially speaking, generally you're going to gravitate towards the processed foods. We did talk about this before as well, that things now are getting much, much better so that you can stretch that quite a bit further, and especially where we're eating less. I mean, there is that part of it as well, that yes, you're going to get twice as much food, but you're going to eat twice as much food as well. And if we cut back on the amount, then, spending money and all the other good stuff. So they do talk about that. They talk about droughts. They talk about oil companies and just absolutely everything. So, but it's not a matter of saying, well, it's the food corporation's fault that we're fat, or it's a fast food restaurant, or it's the oil companies and everything else. They do address it and say these are some of the contributing factors that are in there. Including, they actually address even food stamps from the government, that there are certain things that are permitted to be bought with it. Which sort of comes back to the whole, that fat tax we talked about a while ago. They do address, should people on food stamps be allowed to buy junk food with it, or, fizzy drinks and soda pop and everything else. I mean, there are some people that are saying, well, yes, it's food. It's, it's the cheapest one that we can get. And then there are other people saying no, because the food stamps technically are taxpayers paying it. And we have addressed this as well. To put it in perspective, this is going to go a little bit off the rails here. Say that this is how I look at the fat tax and why I agree with it in general. Say that you've been doing this for 5 months and you're just getting to that point, and it's Saturday, it's just before your weigh-in, and you figure, you know what, I'm going to take a little sneak peek. So you do a sneak peek at your weight, and you realize that you've just hit your 50-pound goal. You are now 50.2 pounds lost in total. So you've worked really, really hard for 5 months, you've been taking care of yourself, you've been eating properly, and you just think, okay, good, I've made that. It's still technically the day before, but I will wait. You're done. Everything is done for the day. So in the morning, things are going to be good. You're going to be able to do your weigh-in and make it official and say, good, this is how things are going to go. So later on that night, you have your 3 best friends call you up and say, we're going out, come out with us. And you think, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go overboard. I'm going to go out and have a good time. I'm not going to eat, what I shouldn't be eating. I want to keep that 50-pound goal because I've worked really hard for it. So you go out. And so they decide, okay, well, we're going to go and we're just going to go spend some time with each other and things are going to be fine. So they go to the bar, have a few drinks, and you think, I don't really want to drink a whole lot because it's going to put my calories over. So you think, tell you what, I will be your designated driver. That way, you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about calories. They can have as much fun as they want, which they do, not to an annoying point. We'll at least have that so that they're not annoying drunks. They're going to be fun drunks. So they spend their entire night out drinking, having a great old time, stagger out of the bar at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they decide that they want to go to a fast food place. So you drive them there. But you're being really, really good. So you've just basically stuck with water all night, and okay, it's only another hour or so. I can go home, have a rest, things will be fine. They go and they buy their chips and their fries. Why would you buy chips at a fast food place? Their fries and hamburgers and milkshakes and desserts and all sorts of other stuff. Have a great time, and by this time they're starting to sober up. So things are good. So you drive them back to their place. You think, all right, I'm going to leave my car, I'll grab my car, leave all their stuff here. And they start pulling out all the different receipts. They put it into a pile, and it comes to a fair amount. $200 or $300 or $400 for the night, because they've been having lots and lots of fun. They put all the receipts in together, they add everything up, and they each put in their amount that they've spent, and then they look at you, and they wait. And they say, you've got to put in your share. Now, when you put it into perspective like that, immediately all of you are going, what? I didn't do anything. I didn't have any drinks. I wasn't bad. I didn't go to McDonald's. I didn't do anything. I actually helped out. I tried to be the designated driver so that I could say, okay, this way I won't get tempted and things will be fine. And I stuck to my weight. I'm doing well. It's the same sort of thing that for people like us, I mean, admittedly, we are a drain on the medical system. And the same thing would go for smokers. It's really difficult to try to sympathize when they're saying, well, I shouldn't have to pay extra tax on a contributing factor to my health. And the same thing with your friends going out. That if they all just sort of sit there and wait, well, you need to contribute your fair share. You're saying, okay, but I'm not the one that's causing this to go up. I'm not the one who's actually contributing to the cost of the evening. So why should I be paying extra? And it's the same sort of thing. If my tax money is going towards people that are, just regular healthcare, I don't mind. That's what taxes are for, so that everyone puts in their fair share and it provides services for everyone. However, when you go in and you look at someone that has been eating healthy, not necessarily that is a fitness guru or anything else, but people that aren't overeating, they aren't eating a lot of junk food, they aren't obese, so they aren't contributing to heart disease and I'm trying to think of all the other different diseases that go along with it. They are contributing to that sort of drain on the medical system. Same thing with smokers. For non-smokers, to say, well, they should be putting in the exact same amount as smokers do is unfair. And we all know it's unfair. Because when you take into account lung cancer and emphysema and heart disease and all the other problems that come along with that, no one really complained when people said, okay, well, we need to have a tax on cigarettes. And it's a huge, huge tax. I think it's actually more than the cigarettes cost. I think there's actually something, well, in Canada anyway, it's a huge tax, like 50 or 75% tax. It's something massive. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but it's absolutely huge. They would be less than half the cost. And no one really complained because, even when I smoked, I still complained because you're spending extra money. But you just think, you know what? Yes, I know but of course it's bad. So we have to offset that cost to the health system by paying for it. And I think the same should be said for junk food and sugary drinks and all the other stuff. And people can say, well, no, that's not fair though, because it's food, it's different, it's what you need. But the problem is that all those things contribute to how we are. And me being, I'm very lucky. I haven't been to a doctor in a very, very long time, so I could be just rife with disease. But in general, I feel like I'm very healthy in relation to my weight. Obviously, the obesity is not healthy, and I've got a myriad of problems that probably go along with that. My heart's probably on the way out, and joints and a whole bunch of other stuff. But in general, I feel okay. So I'm fairly lucky that way, but me overeating and eating junk food and not exercising and just in general being in poor health is a choice because of how I've decided to live my life, which is eating poorly and not exercising and everything else. So if they were to say, okay, well, you're more of a drain on the health system than someone who's eating properly, getting regular exercise, and not obese, even just not obese, even if they aren't a health food nut. So I don't feel that there's anything wrong with them saying, no, there should be an extra tax on junk food and sugary drinks and chips and cookies and all the other stuff if it's not considered healthy, and not in the same way that we saw a while ago that I think, what was the FDA said that pizza was a vegetable, which is just stupid. Or USDA, no. Yeah, I think it was USDA. Anyway, one of the two. FDA wouldn't make any sense. It's food. Anyway, one of the two of them had said that it classified pizza as a vegetable. Yeah, which is ridiculous. Anyway, I know I've gone way off topic here, but I will be coming back. So, sort of regroup everything. So when you look at that same situation, if you're saying, well, no, we shouldn't be taxed on this, and then you look at the situation of, okay, well, if your three friends have gone out, you've worked really hard to get to where you are. You've been really, really good. You're at that. It's not a matter of you saying, well, I couldn't have done this. No one was stopping you. The option was still there. Same thing with the healthcare system. They can say, well, I am not using the healthcare system. And people will say, well, it's still there. You can if you want. If you need it, it's still there. So yes, you should be paying your fair share. The problem is, though, is that just because something is there, like the alcohol at the bar or fast food at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever it is that you went, the fact that it's there, you still made that decision and said, I'm not going to partake because I wanted to stay at my goal. I wanted to hit that 50-pound mark. And had you decided, no, I'm just going to take part in it anyway, and you would have gone over, you would have missed out on that. So because you've worked hard for what you're doing, It's not fair, obviously, for you to put in a quarter of the cost of the evening when you didn't partake in it. And I view that the same way that I would view, the healthcare system, in that if you're not a drain on it the same way that we are, then no, you shouldn't be contributing the same amount. Because if you're living a fairly healthy lifestyle compared to someone who's overeating, then we should be paying more because we are more of a drain on the system. Anyway, that sort of went off topic, and they do sort of address that. That was the food stamp thing. But I just sort of wanted to bring that up because it was something I was thinking about yesterday as well. That because when it comes to smoking, no one seems to really complain. They say, well, of course they should be paying a smoking tax on cigarettes because it's very obviously unhealthy. Well, the same thing goes for us. We're overeating, and we are. It's a drain on the healthcare system. So yes, I think we should be paying more. But that sort of goes back to the food stamp thing where they were saying some people want to put provisions in there saying if you're on food stamps, then the food stamps will not cover what's considered junk food or unhealthy food. I don't think they're going to go as far as to say that it's processed food, things like that, but it's something that they want to address. So some people are saying yes, and some people are saying no, and what's fair and what isn't. Again, it sort of goes back to that same argument saying, well, that's not fair, I should be able to do what I want. It's like, 5-year-olds say that. Adults have to look at it and say, I'd like to be able to do what I want, but I have responsibilities. And if I'm going to be an adult about it, then I need to address this and say, okay, well, I can't have everything I want all the time. The past 5 months have been that way. We can't have what we want all the time. I can no longer eat handfuls of icing. So, yeah, just scoop it out with your hand. It's the best way to eat it. Anyway, it's very bad advice. So, getting back to the documentary, because I'm already 15 minutes over. I'm sorry. Getting back to the documentary, they do address a lot of different things that are contributing factors, but they don't really sort of lay blame on it. But it does move on to other stuff as well. It moves on to drought in different countries and how the economy in different countries affects their agriculture and how they've adapted to it. They talk about actually how so much oil is used for, again, I'm not going to get into evil oil companies, but they show how much oil is used for each, first amounts of food. Something like, they say just half a liter of oil is used to raise this much cabbage or something. I don't remember what the numbers are, but it's very interesting all the way through. But it's a 3-part series. I've only gone through the first 2. But he goes through Cuba, and then he goes to Senegal, and then I don't remember what the third one is. Another country. Anyway, it's very interesting, though, just to sort of watch through. And it's not to point fingers and say, well, it's their fault, this is what's going on, and everything else. And it does sort of jump from subject to subject. But it really does sort of just lay information out there and just say, this isn't a bad thing. This isn't an evil food corporation that's contributing to this. This is just how things are. And there are certain harsh realities that we do need to sort of accept, as bad as they may be. And I mentioned this yesterday as well. There is that tendency for people to say, how dare you be upset about this one thing when this other thing is going on and it's much worse. You can be concerned about more than one thing at a time. So anytime that you see that, it's fairly common, actually, when people say, well, this is horrible, this is going on, and people say, how can you be upset about that when this is much, much worse? Just because you're upset about one thing or concerned about it doesn't mean that you can't be concerned about another thing at the same time. So smarten the fuck up. Anyway, so they do address a number of different things, and it's not really to say, this needs to stop, this is what we need to do. It's just simply saying, here's the state of the world, here's what things are probably going to turn into, here's how people are improving it. But there isn't going to be one thing that you can say, well, this is going to fix this problem and this is going to fix that problem. There's just a myriad of different contributing factors to everything. And they do address each one in turn. So it's very, very interesting and more informative than anything else. But again, there are some realities that you sort of have to accept. For example, the main argument for vegetarianism and veganism, a lot that you hear is like, oh, they're so cruel to animals when they kill them and things like that. And they say, well, they need to be humanely killed, which kind of goes against the grain. I'm not vegan. I'm not vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of meat simply because, well, I sort of do. I don't have it every day. And it's just a matter of, that's just how my diet has gone. It's not a conscious decision. It's not a moral decision or anything like that. It's just every now and then yes, I'll get a craving for something, so I'll have it. But forgot where I was going with that. Veganism, yes. The argument is normally, it's very, very cruel to it. And yes, I understand that wherever my meat comes from, that an animal's getting killed for it. There's no way that they're going to say, well, we've raised these chickens from the time they're little itty-bitty chicks, and we raise them as pets, and when they're done at the end of the day, we gently lullaby them to sleep, and they don't even know that anything goes on, and we give them a lethal injection. I know that, just for the sheer volume that needs to be done, that there's a slaughterhouse, and it might be just a big lightsaber that comes across and cuts their heads off, or whatever it is that decides to kill them. I know that's sort of a part of it, and it's not something that, obviously, I'm sitting there eating going, I'm glad they killed this thing so that I can eat it. But it's a harsh reality that we have to face, is that for many of us, that's where we're getting our protein, is meat. And part of that comes from killing animals. It doesn't always have to be cruel, obviously. Killing an animal is obviously going to be cruel, but there's no way to get around that. No one ever goes, oh, thank God, they're finally dead. But it's just, I suppose, the method in which they're raised and things like that. You can sort of say, well, I'm going to spend a little bit more and, buy the happy, friendly, running free cows, or whatever it is. But in general, those are sort of things those are the things that I'm talking about. That there are certain harsh realities that we have to accept when it comes to food. And you can make those conscious decisions if you want and say, I'm going to make a moral decision to do this instead and only buy from these things or not eat meat or whatever it is that you decide to do. Or go on a crusade. But I feel that there are some things that we just need to look at and say, I understand this is part of it. You may not agree with it, but it's part of it. So don't need to go off on a tangent and start screaming, like I've been doing for the past 20 minutes or so. Anyway, it's a 3-part documentary series. I'll put the first part up there so that you can take a look at it. The other ones you can easily find on YouTube as well. Usually if you put up one, then the other ones are going to be in the related stuff. So I'll put that in there. It's not really aimed towards weight loss or anything else. It's more of a general food-related series of documentaries. But it was really, really interesting that I've seen so far anyway. So I'm going to finish off that third part as well to take a look at it. But it's just something to sort of take all the information in. And the oil thing was really interesting, which I think is in the first part, where they just measure out how much oil is used. And they do the same thing with water, actually, where they'll say for 1 gram of lamb, I think it was, it's like 13 or 17 liters of water. It's just a huge amount of water, and they show how much water is needed to grow lettuce and stuff like that. It's not just saying, well, this is how much is in there, but it takes into account the feed and the trucks and the labor and everything else, how much water it takes for each one, which we briefly talked about a while ago. I think it was just mainly on water, but they do the same thing with oil, which was really interesting too. Anyway. Go up, take a look. I thought it was very interesting. Hopefully you will do the same. I really went off topic with the 3 friends going out. I'm sure your friends are fine. Just next time, just say, no, I'm not paying for it. Fuck off. Like, you people, I drove you home. I was the designated driver. I've specifically not had fun, so you can have fun. So no, I'm not paying extra. Anyway, stand your ground. We're all behind you. Support you. If that ever happens. But anyway, I'm going to cut this off because I've been going on for, there we go. Okay, we're still under half an hour. We're okay. So now you can go up and watch another half hour of TV. These actually are quite long. They're about an hour and a half long each. But it goes by really quick because it's very, very interesting stuff. So it's a nice addition in there. Anyway, I'm going to leave this video here and go take a look and see if I can find out what my cat has bulked up. And see if I can clean that up. Hopefully it hasn't done anything. Maybe it was just doing a little dry heat thing, as they are wont to do. Aren't animals awesome? Anyway, I'm going to leave this here. So thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. In the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.